Recognize the gentlelady from Missouri.
Thank you. St. Louis and I are here today in strong support of the rights of workers, of consumers, small businesses, and the broader public to be free from corporate greed that monopolizes our access to information and treats employees and communities as expendable. Thank you for being here, Chair Khan. I appreciate your service as a staffer on this committee, your groundbreaking scholarship on antitrust law and anti-monopoly issues, and your record of accomplishments as FTC Chair. The Commission has an important role to play in protecting our economy from the harms caused by greedy, reckless corporations that put profit and power over people. Look at big tech, big pharma, big oil, and any other concentrated industry. These companies and the profit-obsessed executives behind them have abused their power for too long, and it's time that they be held accountable. So we absolutely need to level the playing field for workers and consumers. The FTC can and is trying to help under your leadership, and I appreciate that because it makes a real difference in communities like mine. For example, in recent years, FTC lawsuits have resulted in more than $33 million provided to more than 178,000 Missourians. In 2020 alone, the FTC provided $8.6 million to people in Missouri, including St. Louis. That's real money for real people harmed by corporate greed. It's food on the table, it's a roof over a head, it's clothing for a child. Another example is the FTC's proposed rule to ban non-compete agreements. Chair Khan, as was brought up earlier, banning non-compete agreements is estimated to raise wages by over $200 billion each year and to close racial and gender wage gaps by up to 9.1%. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, as we laid out in our notice of proposed rulemaking, those are some of the estimated effects, yes.
Thank you. It's a lot of money in the pockets of workers and Black and brown people and women in particular. Can you explain specifically how banning non-compete agreements means workers will get paid more?
So what our staff did is they looked very closely at the empirical evidence that has now surfaced in light of the different state policies that we've seen. And what we've seen is that states that have limited non-competes are able to ensure that workers are moving them around more freely, though unfortunately we still see that all too often companies are still trying to include non-competes. What we've also seen is that being able to switch jobs, being able to move freely between jobs and get better job opportunities is a key mechanism that workers have to use to be able to get higher wages and better employment opportunities. When you freeze workers in place, when you lock them in place through these non-competes, that means that they're not able to go across the street, even though the firm across the street is offering them better wages or better working conditions, and that's bad for workers.
Absolutely. Thank you, and that's a real impact that will save lives. But Republicans don't like this. The party that is in the pocket of white supremacists and wealthy corporations will talk a big game about fighting for everyday people and then show up to Congress and do whatever their corporate donors want them to do. That's what these attacks, that's what this is about. So let me be clear. There is nothing unethical about standing up for workers, consumers, and small businesses. There is nothing unethical about enforcing the law against powerful and destructive companies like Amazon, Meta, and Twitter. There is nothing unethical about putting your principles into practice. But what's unethical is being apologists for the corporate greed that is fleecing our communities. What's unethical is claiming to care about workers and then selling them out. That's the real ethics scandal here, and we need not forget it. The bottom line is that the corporate monopolies are a recipe for social destruction. Any lawmakers who claim to stand for workers and consumers must advocate against dominance by large private companies that care more about profit than people. We need to aggressively enforce our antitrust laws for the purposes Congress intended, and we also need to move beyond the digital economy dominated by billionaire-owned for-profit companies. Chair Khan, you have never tried to hide who you are or what you believe, and I admire you for that. I thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to working with you and your agency on these critical issues. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. I recognize the